All right, people, what is good? Another episode of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VFBaller, and it is time to get into it. I've been pretty busy the last couple of days, probably the last 36 hours, with work and my son, and I wasn't able to put any content up, so definitely I got a lot to pack on this episode as far as being live right now. And I think it's going to be a pretty interesting show. Hopefully you guys will enjoy what is going on here. Thank everybody who's been supporting. Have a lot of support going on as far as, as far as the content. A lot of people have been coming through. A lot of people been doing their thing as far as subscribing and doing all the great stuff as far as supporting the channel. And going into 900 subs, and it's thanks to you guys. What's going on, Anthony? What's good, bro? One of the members of AFN is in the house. Appreciate you coming through. Like I said, going into 900 subs, and we're just pushing right along. Hopefully we'll get there. And when I say we, it's us. It's we. It's not just me doing all of this. It's you guys. You guys make this go. You the ones that push this to where it is. And without you guys, I'll be pretty much talking to myself. And I really, really appreciate it. Also, shout out to AFN for just bringing a collective of people together to talk about Atlanta Falcons football. I remember at one point there wasn't much Atlanta Falcons talk on YouTube at all, and these guys are bringing the content. The guys are bringing the information. They're bringing in the sources. They're bringing people together. Not only just people like regular guys like me, but you got former players coming together. You got people that are in the media coming together, talking about Atlanta Falcons football on YouTube. And it's really good to see. As far as me, I love talking about Atlanta Falcons football. If this is your first time here, I talk about Atlanta Falcons football. I talk about Georgia Southern football. I'm a really big Georgia Southern football fan, and we'll get into that team in a little bit later. And on top of that, I like to talk about gaming as well. I don't put as much gaming on this channel like I used to. Most of that stuff is on my other YouTube channel, but I am going to try to put more of the sports video games over here, because most of the things over here are surrounded by sports. So definitely going to be putting that together. So hopefully you guys will stick around. I recently put up a video of me playing one of my favorite football games on Twitch, which got pretty good reception, and I really appreciate that, because I didn't know how much it would be received after it's been a change to what's been going on over here on the channel. I will be taking calls a little bit later if anybody wants to call in. I'm going to get into the topics first. Before I get into any of the Atlanta Falcons or the Georgia Southern stuff, I definitely want to get into Gardner Minshew, and I'll get into Deshaun Watson. I want to talk about Deshaun Watson first, really, because Deshaun Watson, I don't know why this guy isn't traded yet. I really don't understand it. Deshaun Watson should have been traded a long time ago with all the stuff going on. I know with the allegations or whatever, people probably don't want to touch him, but at the same time, I feel that it gets to the point where you got a pretty good talent and you got to let the courts play out. I know with the way the society is now, nobody don't really want to touch, people with those type of allegations. And I get it. And I'm not saying, trying to force anybody to take him, but this trade situation should have been out there a long time ago. And right now they're still talking about the Dolphins or the Panthers probably picking him up. I'm not sure why either team would really pick up Deshaun Watson. They have decent quarterbacks now. I'm not really high on Tua, but I think you can still build something with him. Also, with the Panthers, you got Sam Darnold, which I can understand why they're not really high on him, because of, him just starting out the way he did with the Jets. But he wasn't the problem with the Jets. But I can see where you feel like, compared to him over Deshaun Watson, you may want to take Deshaun Watson. Same thing with the same thing with Miami, with Tua, but I think Tua has a higher upside than Sam Darnold, so I wouldn't touch him, especially with what they're trying to ask for. They're asking for like 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, and I think that's extremely high, to be honest. I mean, I don't care how good he is, I just think that those type of picks are extremely high. And I'm not sure if I would pull the trigger on that. And it's something that if it was another team, just say if it was a team that don't have a quarterback or don't have a big quarter, like for example, like the Panthers per se, I can see the Panthers doing this because you may not be as high on Darnold. Like I said, with Tua, it's a little different. I think you can make something to do something with Tua. With, let's say, and we'll just stay in a division. If you're staying with the Saints, I can see the Saints pulling this off with those picks because I'm not sold on Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. They're not even sold on Taysom Hill because Taysom Hill just lost the job to Jameis Winston. I'm pretty sure there's other teams out there. I don't have a list of all the teams that will probably pull a trigger for this extremely high price. But when you're talking about these two teams, I can see why they will back out. The Dolphins and the Panthers have no business giving up that many picks for Deshaun Watson. Even though, like in the chat right here, Anthony says that he's the generational talent. I totally agree. He's definitely a generational talent, but I just don't see where you will give up that much unless you really need a quarterback. Not for those two teams. Let's say, for instance, I'm trying to think what team that really needs a quarterback right now that would be viable. Let's say if it was the Lions. Yeah, you got Jared Goff, but I can see them pulling the trigger for this. I'm trying to think who else. I'm trying to go down the list and just think of what teams. You know, most teams they have a decent quarterback right now, so I don't see it. But like I said, you know, definitely like the Saints, the Lions. I'm trying to think who else. I can't think of anybody else right now. I would not be surprised if oh goodness, that really. I'm just the more I think about it, every team has a decent quarterback right now. I don't see where you will pull the trigger or anything like that. The Colts, I can see the Colts. You know, Anthony says the Colts as well. I can see the Colts, but at the same time, oh, man, I still believe in Carson Wentz. I do believe in him. And there's reports now that he may not miss any games this season, so he may be playing. But I kind of believe in Carson. If it wasn't for the injuries, I'll be right there with you. I'll definitely be with you. Oh, speaking of being around, around that region or whatever, look at the Washington football team. That's another team. I definitely would see this if Washington did this. I could see Washington doing this right now, even though I like what's his name? Oh goodness, I can't remember the quarterback they just signed not too long ago. Not Fitzpatrick, but the other one, Heineke. I like Heineke. I definitely could see them pulling the trigger. The Washington football team, without a doubt, I could see them doing it. To be honest with you, I can see. I don't know if it'll be this high of a price for 3 first-round picks. I can see the Steelers doing it because Roethlisberger's out the door. You already seen what Dwayne Haskins could do, and I don't see that as well. As far as Dwayne Haskins being the future. So those are 2 more teams that I can think of right now. The Redskins, and you can see the Steelers possibly doing it as well. So that's like what, 5 teams right there. You got the Saints, you got the Panthers possibly, the Washington football team, the Steelers. That's 4. And with the Colts, possibly and the only reason why I say possibly the Colts, because right now, even though me personally, I believe in Carson Wentz still, he just stays injured too much. And with that being said, you don't want to, attach that to your franchise quarterback. Deshaun Watson is an excellent quarterback, and he will play, he plays substantially amount of time because he doesn't really get injured like that. You just keep him upright. He likes to move around and stuff. And he's that type of guy that you would want to play under center. But I'm just going to put the Colts on the back burner because if Carson Wentz is healthy, we're not having this conversation. But at the same time, if you have, like I said, the Steelers could definitely will pull the trigger. I don't know if they will give up 3 first-round picks and 2 second rounds. Not the Colts, but the Steelers don't necessarily deal players like that, but they could use this type of quarterback. they can use this type of quarterback easily. So I would really look into that. But we'll continue to see how that plays out. I see Deshaun Watson probably being moved probably later on in the season. I don't see him being played too much longer. And my son is crying downstairs. He's probably playing. So you'll probably hear him back there. Yeah, that's my son. But yeah, you know, we'll see probably by the trade deadline. I see Deshaun Watson possibly being moved. I don't see him pretty much staying with the Texans. The Texans situation is way too toxic. And with that being said, I'm pretty much we're probably gonna be talking about this story a little bit later when you have Deshaun Watson move to another team. If I have to pick a team, right now I would possibly just say the Panthers, because the Panthers still looking at them. Yahoo Sports also says that the Dolphins are the front runners. I just don't see them doing it. I mean, because my thing is Tua is just not being, they're not valuing Tua too much on the Dolphins for some reason. And I'm not necessarily sold on Tua because of, I think the way that he throws the ball, it looked really good at Alabama, but ever since he's been in the pros, it just not has been the same. So maybe they see the same thing. You know, maybe they see the same thing. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see how that plays out. Now, also, I did say the Panthers. I would like to see him go to the Steelers, but I doubt if they'll do that move, and Washington should get him. I definitely would. Those two teams, the Lions, I didn't forget the Lions. They got a lot of money into Jared Goff, but it's almost like a grave, you know, it's almost like a death sentence for Deshaun Watson to go to the Lions, to be honest with you. They are trying to improve, but I just don't see it. And then also in that division with the Vikings, Bears, and the Packers, man, I don't know. Let's get into Gardner Minshew real quick. He's been traded to the Eagles, which is a fantastic move for the Eagles. My thing is, I'm not sold too much onto Jalen Hurts. And my former co-host, Bill's Fourth, which you can find him on Twitter at JMBMJ, he hasn't been sold on Jalen Hurts either. So I think this is a phenomenal move for them, to be honest with you. I think Gardner Minshew can start for the Eagles like right away, to be honest. I think with the talent that the Eagles have at receiver and the running game, I would not be surprised if Gardner Minshew would be starting for them by the end of this season. And it's not necessarily, and that's not necessarily a knock on Jalen Hurts. It's just that I feel like Gardner Minshew is slightly better. And with the talent around him, I think Gardner Minshew will really shine. Gardner Minshew did a really good job with the depleted Jaguars team. He didn't do that good with, he did good with a depleted Jaguars team that really didn't have that many receivers. Also, they didn't have, they had a pretty good running game, but the team itself, defensively and everything, they just weren't that good. It's a reason why they ended up getting the first overall pick, because, and most of the time, it wasn't Gardner Minshew's fault. He put up pretty decent numbers. So, I think that with Gardner Minshew, I feel that this is a really good move for the Eagles. I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to the rest of the guys under center for the Eagles. I'm pretty sure that he's definitely going to be competing, and it's going to be something to really behold. It will be nice to see how that plays out. Let's go back. Let's see dates. Wow, they actually got a pretty good steal for him. They traded him for a conditional 2022 6th-round pick. And I forgot they got Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco actually looked pretty good in the preseason. So, I'm going to be honest with you. Jalen Hurts is going to have to do something. It's just point blank. He's going to have to do something, or he could be the third man. He could be the third guy on the depth chart. And I'm not joking when I say that. And, Joe Flacco looked pretty good. I saw him play a little bit this preseason. You know, that doesn't necessarily translate to the regular season, but he's a veteran. So with guys that are, you know, pretty good at receiver, and you got a pretty decent running game, him or Gardner Minshew may end up, you know, taking the most of the snaps throughout the season. Like I said, I can see Gardner Minshew possibly getting, you know, the starting job by the end of the year. Now, I don't know exactly when he'll be starting, but I'm just saying by the end of the year, he could be in a situation where He could be starting. It could be week 12, week 11, week 10, week 18. It doesn't matter. I just find out probably by the end of the season, going into next season, he possibly could be QB1 for the Eagles. Gardner Minshew is just, I'm not going to say he's that good, but he plays the game that well. I'll just say that, if that makes sense. He plays the game as well to the point where he's actually managing games, putting up numbers, and not doing anything crazy to cost you the football game. Joe Flacco could turn into MVP Joe Flacco. He could turn around and end up being the Joe Flacco that got the guy that got booted out of Baltimore. Or hell, got booted out of Denver. Jalen Hurts can play football. I'm not saying that he can't. He can play quarterback. He's actually pretty good. But I think Gardner Minshew is slightly better, and I think that Gardner Minshew could end up taking that job. Does Jalen Hurts have a chance? Yes, he does, but compared to the other guys who have proven to put up pretty decent numbers, he could be the third guy on the list. Going back to what Anthony Jackson said, he said that would be a slam dunk for Washington. I think Deshaun Watson to Washington is probably the best move for both parties. The best move. You're talking about the Washington, D.C. area. You know how they feel about their black quarterbacks. And I'm not just saying that to be funny, but they always call that place Chocolate City for a reason. And the team needs a quarterback. It's not a knock on Fitzpatrick or Tyler Heineke, but Deshaun Watson with that team would elevate the players around him. I mean, Terry McLaurin would thrive with Deshaun Watson. Same thing, like I said, with Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew and I personally think he'll make Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor much better. I think he'd make those guys much better at quarterback compared to the other two. But that doesn't mean that, the other guys can't play. That doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts can't play. That doesn't mean that. I just think that he would be the better fit for that team. Gardner Minshew can play. Jalen Hurts can play as well. I just think that when you're looking at these three, I think you're looking at Minshew, Flacco, and Hurts. And it's very slight. And in some cases, you can say 1A, 1B, 1C. But I just think that, I just never was sold on Jalen Hurts to be the long-term solution. So therefore, I just don't know where that's going to go. But at the same time, we're going to be sitting around and see how this plays out. And I can't wait to see. I mean, the football season is just starting up really good. We're looking at college football. I did not watch too much college football because some of the teams that I watched just wasn't too. There wasn't too much on the interest level for me. But I saw Hawaii get blown out. Indiana actually beat Nebraska. Something's going on with Nebraska right now, and they need to fix that because Nebraska used to be a very prominent football organization. Program, very prominent. So I don't want to get too much into college football because I did not watch too much, but it is going to be really interesting to see what goes on in college football, especially with the situation in Nebraska. That's really, that's really crazy how that played out. I didn't expect them to lose to Indiana, but Indiana plays some pretty good ball. Just go through some, did I say Indiana? I mean, Illinois. I do apologize about that. Man, I've been saying Indiana the entire time they play Illinois. Wow, my bad. So they lost 30-22. And let's see, Fresno State and UConn played. Fresno State blew out UConn 45-0. UCLA beat Hawaii. We just talked about Hawaii. UTEP beat New Mexico State 30-3. San Jose beat Southern Utah 45-40. He said the Alcorn State game was good. Oh man, I missed that game. I really wanted to see that. Now see, that's one game I wanted to see, but I was just so tired. If you want to talk about the interest level of games, that was the one that piqued my interest. I just never got a chance to get to it and watch it. 14-23 was the score. Okay. I'm going to have to look at the highlights of this game later. Because the MEAC football, I used to follow that when I used to follow Savannah State. And I haven't watched Savannah State football in so long. But That's just something that I'm gonna have to go back and try to find that. Maybe they'll have it on ESPN Plus. I'm gonna go back and watch that game. So it seemed like it was a pretty good game, 14-23. I wish I can get the box score, not the box score, but the scoring play by play. I'll get to it. Here it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, so North Carolina Central end up scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter to win that game. So they were down 13-14 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to go back and look at this. I'm definitely going to have to go back and look at this. Okay. Did I say Alcorn State won? I'm all over the place. I do apologize. North Carolina Central won that game. All right, well, enough of that. Let's get into the Falcons. Let me get this off the screen because I didn't mean to have that on the screen the entire time. Let's talk about Falcons real quick. Falcons are going to be playing they're going to be playing the starters for the game against the Browns. This is going to be really exciting because now we're finally going to get to see what Dean Pease, we're actually going to finally get to see what Arthur Smith has in store for this team. The first two games were basically experimental. We all knew that. Arthur Smith has done a phenomenal job of getting their guys out there just to see what he has. And it's good to see because that's when you know who will be put on, be placed on the team, get a roster spot, and actually be able to go forward with the starters and, into the season. Now we know that we had some players that were cut. They're down to 80 players. 27 people got to get cut by the end of this game. So this is a very pivotal game. We're going to see the team starters play. Yes, it's game day. Absolutely. We're going to see the team get their starters out there. I want to definitely see what they're capable of. We're probably going to get to see some real plays being ran. We're probably going to get to see some guys actually show off their talent with this new regime. It's going to be really interesting to see. As far as starters, I definitely want to see if what kind of connection that Matt Ryan has with the receivers. I don't have any doubts with the running backs. We kind of see what we already had with most of the running backs already. Mike Davis hasn't played. We haven't seen much of Quadri Allison, but we kind of know what those guys can do based on what we've seen in the in their past, as far as what they've done on other teams and in seasons before. So we kind of know what we got with the running backs. We just need to know if the offensive line can actually hold up. Then we'll really get to see the running game. Also, the offensive line holding up to see what the chemistry that Matt Ryan has with the receivers. We're going to see a little bit of Gage, Ridley, Pitts, Zacchaeus. I really want to see Frank Darby. I just did a video on Frank Darby. Where is he? I hope he don't get cut. Frank Darby looks like he's going to be a stud for the team because of his attitude, his swag, the way what he brings to the table, and his talent. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of him. I've gotten reports from other people that he actually did pretty good in the last game once, the Dolphins took their starters out, which, I don't even want to talk about. Don't even want to talk about that. I think that was just really ridiculous that they had the starters out there like that. But nevertheless, I want to see the chemistry that Matt Ryan has with these players, because it's going to be really interesting to see life after number 11, what type of throws, what kind of plays, what kind of schemes that these guys are going to have against defenses going forward. So I'm really excited. The Browns, they have a pretty decent team. They may have their starters out there as well. So let's talk about that. As far as the offense the Browns have, the Browns can actually move the ball very well. They got Kareem Hunt. They got Nick Chubb. They got a handful of good receivers, without, you don't even have to name them. You already know what Odell Beckham and company can do. They actually have our former tight end, which is, oh goodness, I can't remember his name. I just was talking about him the other day. And, Austin Hooper. There it is. Austin Hooper. They got Austin Hooper. So they got the guys that can actually move the ball. I want to see what our defense could do. That front seven, can we get pressure? Can we get some pass coverage with AJ Terrell and company? What can we do with that? So definitely want to see what they do. I think it's going to be a pretty good matchup. And I think it's going to be really good to see what they can do as far as, no, son, you're not going to watch TV here. You can watch this though. My son is here. Here you go, baby. Here you go. Here. Hold on, y'all. 1 second. There you go. Did you eat that bacon? Here you go. All right. He likes to watch. He likes to watch stuff. So he's watching something on my phone. So that's cool. All right. But with that being said, Anthony Jackson, we need his energy. Yeah, I agree. We need his energy. And not only that, that energy needs to feed off other players. You know, I would like to see other players that have this type of energy and his emotion. And that just shows a lot of passion that we can have on the team. So there's something definitely that we need to put together. And I know it's still just preseason. I'm still excited because the starters are actually going to be playing. It's preseason, so we just have to be careful with how we use our starters, because you don't want to see a situation like J.K. Dobbins, which is possibly down for the season with the knee injury. And that just goes to show you, phenomenal job by Arthur Smith and company by not putting too many starters out there. And actually, well, if any of the starters out there, and nobody really got injured. I think Marlon Davidson had a tweak injury, and I think it was either Jalen Hawkins or Chris Williamson. I can't remember which one. Had a little tweak injury, but it's nothing major as what we're seeing now. So hopefully, we'll get to go play a clean game of football and we get through it. And to be honest, I don't care if it's a W or a loss. I just want to see those guys execute. Give me around maybe 2, maybe 3. I'll say, maybe 2 or maybe 3 series and move the ball down the field and get us some points. If we do that, maybe even a quarter, and every time we touch the ball, we get some type of points, so we put the offense or the other team in bad field position, I think that's a W for us. So it doesn't matter what happens on that end. So I don't have much else to say on that. I was going to make a video about this, but I got busy with my son. So it's good to put this out here now so people can watch this prior to game day, and we'll see what we're working with on that end. Shout out to the Atlanta Falcons organization. I think they've done a phenomenal job this preseason managing what they have, and I think they did a pretty good job with that being said. And nobody's injured. Yeah, you see it? You sorry for what? Oh, you hit the bike? But like I said, phenomenal job for the guys. They did a phenomenal job with keeping this team healthy and going forward. I'm going to open up the phone lines if you guys don't mind. If you guys want to call, the number is 803-767-4242. I will be answering calls if you guys want to call in. That'll be awesome. If not, either way, that's fine. It's totally optional. But I like to hear you guys' feedback if you want to be on the show. Also, this show will be on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify. What's the other one? Anchor. It's going to be on all those. It's going to be on all of those platforms. So if you want to listen to this after the show is over and you don't want to use your YouTube data or whatever the case may be, and if you just want to listen to it on the go, you can download this podcast on those areas, and you can just have fun listening as you go and let other people know what I'm doing over here. Share this podcast. Let people know. Share the show. Let people know what I'm doing over here. Mostly talk about sports and sports gaming and, everything under that umbrella. So that's what we'll be doing here. All right, now let's switch this up. Let's talk about some Georgia Southern football. We're going to be playing Gardner Webb on the 4th. Can't wait to see how this goes. I'm not going to get into the Georgia Southern team right now. I talk about those guys a lot. If you're interested in watching this game, I'm going to give you some guys to look out for on the Gardner Webb football team, because you may not know anything about them, whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure they're an FCS team. Yeah, they're definitely an FCS team. And we're going to talk about what these guys bring to the table. They have 2 quarterbacks that may be starting, but I am thinking about that Tavon Bowers, 6'1", 200 pounds, is going to be possibly starting for Gardner Webb. And he's the only one that pretty much took snaps for him and Jai Tolan, only one that took snaps for Gardner Webb so far this season. I think no, not so far this season, but last season. So they're probably going to be one of those two guys are probably going to be starting, and it's going to be interesting. Probably you may have another guy that's out there that stands out. Kendall McCoy, 6'3", 220, freshman out of North Carolina. That's Western Almanac High, and look like he could be the starter if he beat those guys out. But I think the other guys who actually have some experience probably going to take the snaps. Now, Kendall McCoy, I don't know what he can do talent wise, but I know he's thrown for 4,600 yards and 4,671 and 34 touchdowns. No, I take that back. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. The transfer from Tennessee Tech, Bailey Fisher, that's another quarterback there. So they got 4 quarterbacks on the roster. He's thrown for 4,600 yards, 34 touchdowns at Tennessee Tech. So he has experience at 3 seasons at Tennessee Tech. So he may get the start. Even though that Bowers and Tolan does have the experience at Gardner Webb, the transfer may get the start. And then you also have Kendall McCoy, which is a true freshman. So I don't know how this is going to play out as far as that goes. So those are some guys to look out for. Let's see. What was that? The slot receiver, freshman Malik Huggins, 5'10", 170, out of Braden, the Southeast. He was a former quarterback, and a lot of guys, he's a newcomer, but that's another guy that they're probably going to be looking at as far as getting the ball to some receivers down the field. So he's going to be the guy that we maybe need to be looking at. I'm looking at anybody else that I see that stands out. Not too much anybody else that really stands out, but they're going to be replacing some receivers, so he's probably going to be the guy that's going to be standing out. Also, you had 3 transfers that's coming in. Justin Jordan out of Stetson, TJ Luther out of Wofford, which is a guy that we know the team that we know very well, Wofford with Georgia Southern, and Quavon Skanks out of UConn. All 3 of these guys are going to be suiting up. So these 3 guys plus Malik Huggins look like they're going to have a pretty decent passing game overall, no matter who's under snap at Gardner Webb. So as far as our defense at Georgia Southern, we have really good, talented receivers. I mean, not receivers, but cornerbacks. And we're going to see what Derek Canteen and company do. Dow Baker and company, those guys are going to be doing pretty good back there. But they're going to have a pretty good challenge, I think, with these guys throwing the ball. Don't say much about their running game or whatever the case may be. I don't know how well their running game is going to be. So don't know how that's going to play out. Gardner Webb has a total of 20 starters returning. Look like, they got 20 starters going to be returning on both sides, offensive and defensive. They're going to have 21 freshmen, 7 transfers. Some came from the FBS and FCS as well. So I take that back. 7 of the transfers came from FBS or FCS. So I'm not going to say they're the most experienced team, but they have some experience over there. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these guys are going to be bringing to the table. I want to see what goes on with this team. And, just looking at what they have, I don't think that's going to be too much of a test for us, but we can't overlook these guys. Our quarterback situation is, I ain't going to say it is in pretty good hands, but our starter, hey baby, all right. Our quarterback situation is in pretty good hands, but you have guys like Justin Tomlin. Yeah, we're going to do that later, baby. Put it right there. Just give me a few minutes. Justin Tomlin is not going to be starting. So with that being said, with Justin Tomlin not starting, we're probably going to have a situation where does Kennerson starts? Does what's his name? Cameron Ransom starts. It has not been told who's going to be the starter yet, and we're a week away. So it's going to be interesting to see who we're going to have at quarterback. Because now I want to see Cameron Ransom. I'm a big Cameron Ransom fan. And with that being said, I want to see him play right away. I like Sam Kinison as well. I think he's going to be pretty good, but I think Cameron Ransom is a little bit better. Also, Amari Jones is going to be out there. He's going to be doing more than just playing quarterback. I mean, he got him as a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, baby, go ahead and go downstairs. Just be careful, okay? He's going to be like the Swiss Army knife for the team. He can play quarterback. He played in high school. He's also going to be playing running back. He's probably going to be receiving playing receiver as well. And speaking of receivers, we have JJ McCaffrey. We have Derwin Burgess. We still have Najee Thompson. We have a plethora of players that's actually going to be that can catch the ball. And it looks like we're going to be throwing the ball a little bit more outside of the the option that we run. So now we have a situation where even the tight end, Bo Johnson, Sean Pelkisson, they're going to be probably getting the ball more as well. And we have a lot of weapons on this team. That's one thing I will say. We have a lot of weapons on this team. So we should be able to move the ball very well against Gardner Webb. As far as our front seven, I think our front seven is going to have a field day with the Gardner Webb offensive line. Our front seven has always been pretty good. I ain't going to say always. At least for the past couple of years, we've been pretty good. Hold on a second, everybody. What you trying to get, baby? What you trying to get? Come on. Come on. Come on. I don't want you to play on the stairs, baby. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Just be careful. Like I said, I think that the front seven is going to be really good. Front seven is going to be excellent. As far as playing against the offensive line. Here, there you go. He don't know what he want. And yeah, it's a pumpkin. And like I said, I think that the offensive line of Gardner Webb is not going to be that good. I just don't think that. They haven't said much about them. I think that's where we'll probably end up winning this game because of what they have up front. It's not going to be as good for guys like a CJ Wright. Bradley Glenn is not playing anymore. He's out with the injury. That is so bad. You don't want to give it to daddy. Give it daddy. That's fine. Give it daddy. And what you want, baby? No, you can't get that. I forgot Bradley Glenn was out. So you got guys like CJ Wright. Yes, go ahead. Go downstairs, baby. I'm watching you. Yeah. And with that being said, who else? Oh goodness, who's that linebacker there? I think Randy Wade is still with us. Like I said, you got a good bit of people that's on that front seven. Kevon Glenn is another one. You also have Kadri Jackson, Jose. I'm just thinking of guys off the top of my head. And with these guys, I think they're going to be really, really good when it comes against that front seven. Against that offensive line. As far as the secondary, I think the secondary is going to be good as well because the secondary is world class. Derek Canteen, I just talked about him going up against these receivers. These receivers are probably going to be pretty decent, but I think we're going to be fine playing against this team. So therefore, I'm going to get into more in depth once I find out who the starting quarterback is later on this week. I will be attending that game as well. So with me, my wife, my son, we're all going to the game. We got some really good seats as well. So I cannot wait to see what this team is going to be doing against them. I'm going to go down to the game and definitely give you guys a full report of what I see. And hopefully just going to have a good time. I just can't wait. It's going to be so good to be back in Paulson Stadium. Haven't been in Paulson Stadium since I went down there for practice before a game. I haven't been down there since 2017 when they played the Georgia State Panthers. And it's been so long. And I'm going to try to make it to more than one game this season. So it's going to be really good to see what we're going to do against Gardner Webb. Try to go to a couple other games as well this season. So once again, the number is 803-767-4242 if you guys want to call in. If not, that is fine. I'm going to be giving you my last thoughts. If you guys want to call in, that's cool. If not, it's all good. So therefore, let's do a little bit of recap. Gardner Minshew is going to be, well, he is an Eagle now. I think he could be starting by the end of the season. It's going to be really, it's really going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They don't have necessarily a quarterback controversy. I think they got a pretty good situation at quarterback. You know, they have a good problem right now where all those guys could start, and it is almost a W for all. But I think Gardner Minshew is probably the top guy that they should go for as far as starting. Deshaun Watson, 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. I think that's extremely high unless if you're a team that desperately need a quarterback. I don't think the Dolphins should pull the trigger on that. The Panthers as well, I don't think they should pull the trigger as well. I think Sam Darnold and Tua should be okay for them. I think, as like I said, what Jackson said earlier, I think that Washington should probably consider this. I definitely think they should consider getting this player, Deshaun Watson. Also, I think the Steelers might want to look into this as well. I understand the allegations behind him. That's probably why he hasn't been looked at. But I think everything's going to be fine with him. I don't think he's going to be in a situation to where he's going to be in trouble. If anything, the NFL may probably suspend him for, violating conduct policy or whatever, that thing that they do. But I don't think he's going to face any time where it's going to be him being behind bars or anything. He'll probably just lose some money or whatever the case may be. As far as the Falcons should show us some really good football on the field tonight. Can't wait. Going to be watching that. Depends on how everything go. I may give you a post game. If not, AFN is not doing it already. I probably just do a video on what my thoughts are and be on the lookout for that. And it's going to be really good to see them guys actually pulling out the playbook and showing what these guys can really do. Also, hopefully there'll be no injuries. No injuries. We need to see these guys get out of here healthy and get ready for week 1. And as far as Georgia Southern football, I think I don't want to overlook this team. I'll just put it like that. I'm not going to overlook what Gardner Webb can do, because with this new offensive coordinator, I ain't going to say new, but our offensive coordinator is actually going to be putting things together the way he wants to. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play against Gardner Webb. I find ourselves getting a W, but I'm not going to overlook any team that we play, because I want to see us play our best at all times. As far as the quarterback situation is probably like the only thing that we're probably looking at that's a question mark, because we don't know who the starter is. Also, running backs, I don't even need to talk about running backs. J.D. King and company, Jalen White, Amari Jones probably going to be playing back there as well. Gerald Green. I mean, we got some guys back there. We got some guys who could be RB1s anywhere in the Sun Belt. So we're going to see how that plays out as well. And I think that the Eagles, Georgia Southern that is, will be able to pull out a victory against Gardner Webb. And I mean, but I don't want to overlook them. They may be better than advertised. I mean, we tried to overlook that team that we played last year, and they played very, very well against us. Let me see if I can remember that. Who was that team that we played? Campbell. We played against Campbell last year, and that game was a classic. End up winning that game 26-25 or something like that. I mean, I don't know if we overlooked them or whatever the case may be, but 26-27. I mean, but the thing about that was we had a lot of guys out with COVID. A lot of guys was out because of COVID protocol or whatever the case may be, and a few injuries. So it was not our best game. But Hassan Williams, I wonder how that kid is doing at Campbell now as he's still playing. Hassan Williams played very well. 237, 73 yards rushing as well. I mean, goodness, he played very well. But we ended up getting the victory 26-27. That was a tough game. So I'm not going to overlook Gardner Webb like we did Campbell. Hopefully this team won't either. So, and I think that's pretty much going to be it. So thank you guys once again for coming through. If you guys made it here, you guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. Didn't get anyone call in. The number is always there, 803-767-4242. If you guys wanted to call in, we're always here to have that dialogue. And it's always a beautiful thing. It's always a beautiful thing to put out content and you guys to respond. It's just phenomenal. I really, really appreciate you guys. And I think that's pretty much it. Did the recap, covered all bases. I will be putting up a video on my VFcast channel. Actually, that's going to be another podcast episode I'm going to be doing. That's going to be strictly talking about gaming in the retro sense. So we'll be doing that as well. So if you guys want to go over there, just type in VFcast. I should pop right on up. Subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so. Subscribe to this channel, and I'll be putting out more content. Share this and let people know what I'm doing over here. And I will see you guys on the next one. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. All right, y'all. Peace.